All praise is due to Allah alone, the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon the most honorable of prophets and messengers, our Prophet Muhammad, his family and companions. Your Excellencies, esteemed brothers and sisters, dear attendees, may Allah's peace, mercy and blessings be upon you. It is my pleasure to talk to you today, welcoming you to the opening of the International Conference on Education and Training Evaluation, which is held this year in the margins of the Saudi presidency of the G20 summit under the title of Improving Learning Outcomes and Supporting Economic Growth. On this occasion, where its elegance and quality meet its lofty goal, I cannot fail to express my thanks and appreciation to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud, and to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. May Allah protect them both for continuously supporting the education and training sector in general, and to the Education and Training Evaluation Commission ETEC in specific, as well as supporting ETEC's developmental projects aiming at evaluating education and training and improving their quality. This international conference, organized by ETEC every 2 years, have become a global platform through which different ideas and visions are crystallized regarding the mechanisms of evaluating and improving education and training. This conference comes as the world has made tangible progress in providing education through schools, colleges, and universities, with a significant improvement in the enrollment rates of children in schools as well as the enrollment rates in higher education, so that much of the concern related to the quantitative aspects of education has been ended. But the challenge of education, the challenge of quality of education still remains. Education economist Eric Hanushek will present at this conference the scientific evidence of the link between education and economic growth, and how that equality of education measured by the performance of each country's students in international tests is the real influence in supporting economy. The number of years of education or enrollment rates in educational institutions are no longer as influential as in the past. According to the Human Capital Index announced by the World Bank last September, individuals of 18 years of age achieve 11.3 years of schooling on the global average out of 14 years expected. But when those schooling years are adjusted according to the performance of each country in the famous international tests, PISA, TIMSS, and PIRLS, the expected years of schooling drop to 7.8 years on the global average. It is as if we lose 30% of the official years of learning because of the low quality. And this means, in general terms, that we lose 1 year out of every 3 years of education, with all that this loss includes in terms of direct expenses and indirect costs represented in individuals' time and alternative opportunities for community resources. Emphasizing the importance of quality, the United Nations Development Goals have changed. After they were aimed at improving education enrollment rates, they are now focused on quality. This is evidenced by the fact that Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 stipulated that in their fourth goal about education, to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and to enhance lifelong learning opportunities for all. There is no doubt that improving the quality of education presents many challenges. It will not be easier than improving enrollment in education, which has required the nations of the world to exert decades of work. An honest assessment will continue to be the best starting point for improving the quality of education. Therefore, UN organizations have been interested in international evaluation studies since the beginning of the millennium, and many countries have established national evaluation bodies in the interest of honest measurement and diagnosis and in the hope for guiding plans and efforts for improvement. Shortly in the opening session of the conference, Mr. Andreas Schleicher will be speaking to us, and he has been leading the education education and skills sector in the OECD for 2 decades, and he has been behind the idea and implementation of the world's most famous evaluation study, PISA, since its inception. He will talk to us about evaluation for improvement and how to extract evidence from evaluation data and base our improvement plans on it, then successfully lead change. But while the countries of the world were groping for their way to improve the quality of education, the corona pandemic took them by surprise as children stopped attending for face-to-face education at schools in most cases since last March, with attempts to compensate school attendance with distance education. Taking advantage of the progress in the ICTs, there is no doubt that corona crisis with its economic repercussions has damped efforts to improve education and may have set the world back, especially with the exacerbation of the problem of inequality of opportunities and the lack of resources required by the costly improvement efforts. Unfortunately, information and communication technology has so far not shown what promises to replace face-to-face education. As Salman Khan, founder of Khan Online Academy, said, virtual schools cannot be an ideal alternative for face-to-face learning, but there are ample opportunities for improvement, which was called by Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, saying that after controlling the local transmission of the COVID-19 infection, the highest priority should be to return students to schools and educational institutions as safely as possible. In light of the lack of proven effectiveness of any COVID-19 vaccine so far and the possibility of the corona pandemic continuing and children avoiding attending schools, the quality of education will often decline and countries may retreat from the levels of performance they previously achieved in providing education and increasing enrollment rates and learning years. So the problem becomes doubled in the quantity and quality of education as well as the exacerbation of achievement differences among students and the sharpness of the impact of social, economic, external efforts and factors. Your Excellency, the Chairman of the ETEC, my brother Dr. Hussam Zaman, will present in this opening session the efforts of the Education and Training Evaluation Commission, ETEC, in Saudi Arabia to practice evaluation processes during the suspension of attendance at educational institutions due to the corona pandemic. And he will undoubtedly highlight the lessons that can be shared with you to inform efforts in improving education. In KSA, education is blessed with special care as the resources allocated to education were not affected during this pandemic and the spending levels remained the same. On the contrary, the kingdom has enhanced education resources to shift towards distance education with what is required in terms of providing ICTs and distance communication programs, despite that the kingdom faced what was faced by the whole world in terms of the coronavirus in the shift towards distance learning. Quality of education is a fundamental pillar for the kingdom's 2030 vision, as the vision pushes the human being to be the main engine for economic, social, and cultural development as the most important factor in the transformation for an economy not dependent on natural resources, but a knowledge-based economy depending on the ingenuity and the skills of the children of the nation and their responsibility for their homeland, its renaissance and development. As an extension of these purposes, our country, led by the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz, and His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdul Aziz, we have given the quality of and efficiency of education and training, care, support, and development based on scientific foundations and the honest and accurate evaluation. In this regard, I am pleased to thank the Ministry of Education in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the universities, and the Technical and Vocational Training Corporation for arrangements, procedures, and vigorous efforts that they have made, aiming at finding alternatives and electronic solutions to provide distance education in light of the surprise and the acceleration of the events with the spread of the pandemic, and also for their efforts in utilizing all available resources in terms of systems and platforms to ensure continuing of education services for all. In conclusion, I would like to give my to value and appreciate the efforts of His Excellency Dr. Hussein bin Abdul Wahab Zaman, Chairman of ETEC, and the heads of the organizational and scientific committees, all bodies, and international and local speakers who cooperated with the Commission in preparing for the organization and sponsorship of the conference, headed by the Saudi Secretariat of the G20, hoping for the education and training sector in the kingdom and the world to overcome their challenges, and my wishes to education, to ethics, and the participants of this conference with luck and success and peace, mercy and blessings of God be upon you.